Amazing. Hi, Tara.
Hey, Tali.
So you are the next in line. You're actually the last person, the ultimate Party Time Bingo hot potato recipient. So you got Party Time Bingo, I think, a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, it just came in the mail here in Colorado.
And can you tell me how was it? How has it been? Because I think you took it with kids today, right?
I did, yeah. Professionally, I don't see clients in person, as you know, but actually within my community, I am a homeschool mom. So I actually run two homeschool co-ops, which are
Amazing.
communities where parents come together and cooperatively teach their kids in a community, 1, 2 days a week, depending on state laws, things like that. But I run two different co-ops in my community. And so today, this morning was one of the co-ops. And so I actually brought it as my activity to do with the kids today, and it was a huge hit today with the kids.
Yay! Yay! I'm so happy to hear it. I'm so happy to hear it. Have you had an opportunity to use it in virtual practice?
I have not yet because it actually arrived after Friday, so that was my last day of the week, and then so I don't start work yet until later this week to try it with some of my clients virtually that way. But as you know, I already use a ton of games,
Yeah,
board games inside Telepractice, so I'm excited to try it out this week. It was nice to have a few kids in person to kind of get warmed up on it and understand the rules. We actually all read the rules together as like a literacy and comprehension exercise first, and then we started
perfect.
playing together today. But after quite a few rounds of it, because we have definitely have more than 4 kids in the co-op,
Yeah,
and everyone's waiting in line for their turn. I feel like I'm a little bit of a pro now at party time bingo.
amazing, amazing. I'm gonna turn, I have a second camera on, but I realize I'm wearing headphones and so it's not helping. I'm gonna take that off. I'm gonna take this off. And yeah, so for us, we really have that in common that we're pretty much, I think we're both exclusively virtual and we're both using a lot of physical games in our therapy, which is I think baffles a lot of people. And so I wanted to do a demo to show a little bit of how I do it. I'm sure you have tricks up your sleeve for adapting physical games to virtual. I like physical games virtually because it allows me to still keep the screen big. I'm primarily motor speech, and it lets me see the kids' faces big. I'm curious for you. I know you're not working in motor speech. What is the appeal of physical games in your therapy?
You know, um, a lot of my kids nowadays don't have a lot of experience playing games, not physical games.
Yeah,
They have a lot of, they play a lot of games on their iPads or on their Nintendo Switches, things like that. And so really demonstrating that not only to the kids, but to the parents, because being completely private practice, I'm in the home for all
yeah,
of them. So I've got parents sitting there watching. It allows me to model how to use it. It allows me to encourage different games for them to bring home. That was super big in COVID, especially for a lot of my international clients, because the COVID restrictions lasted a lot longer than they did here in the US. So it
yeah,
gave them additional things to do in the home together as a family, to get some of that off screen time. And so it gave me an ability to really demonstrate how to bring that in, how to model, how to use it. In board games, I'm exclusively executive functioning is all I work on.
yeah,
And board games just intrinsically develop executive functioning skills, response inhibition, wait times, working memory, all of those pieces. So board
yeah.
games just automatically work on that. So it's a fun way. And I like games because they bypass that fight, flight, freeze response, which is really high in my executive functioning kiddos. So when
Amazing.
demands are put on them, we jump really quick to demand avoidance because of that fight, flight, freeze piece. But games really kind of bypass it because it's not necessarily demand, it's an invitation to come play
Right.
and join in a game with me. And then I can model for the families and the kids how much fun physical games can actually be.
It's such a safe little universe that you create, right? A little universe in a box each time, a little magic room.
Hmm.
Amazing. So I will show you then how I'm using it. I'm trying to look behind my regular screen here. So the first thing, the major ingredient that I need for using physical games is a document camera. I couldn't really do it nearly as effectively as I do without the document camera. So you could take your phone and put it on a stand, but I really like this is my best friend in virtual therapy. And just so you know, it's an SLP when this is the stand for my camera. That allows my camera to go nice and high. And I'm going to switch views here and bring over the game. So here we go. So this is what the kids would see. I first check if they're seeing it right way up or upside down. And I believe you're seeing it upside down, correct?
Yep,
There you
that's
go.
right
So
side up now.
there we go. So that's what my kids see when we're doing virtual therapy. And there's a couple of ways to play. Or a couple of tricks you can use, a couple of ways to play. But you see that you get, because I raised my camera on that giant mouth, I get a bigger, I can see a bigger spot, a bigger space on the table. And that's going to give me enough room to lay out the boards. And so the first thing I would ask our kids to do is to pick what their favorite party is. And you're already a pro, so you know the 4 parties, but in case people don't know the game, I'm going to just show you what are 4 parties. And I purposely designed this game to be extremely simple to explain. So in 3 seconds, you basically pick your party and have to fill all the supplies or all the guests. And that is the entire how to play. So it's very simple. I wanted the game to be sort of low on instruction, like you don't need a lot of education for it, but high on application. So we have a rainbow party, we've got a pirate party, we've got a monster party, and a space party. I'm going to pick the pirate party. Tara, do you have a favorite?
The one that was fought over today was the Rainbow Unicorn Party. That was the popular one today.
Amazing, amazing. So those are going to be our 2 parties. And then I give kids the choice whether they want to play. So I'm going to move this so that you can see both boards, whether they want to play for finding the characters or for finding the objects. And I think just for our purposes, let's do finding the objects, because I just find it's usually a more popular choice. And then we can go from there. So what you do is you find the board that matches the colors on yours. So you can see that the pink here matches mine, but because we're looking for objects, not people, I'm going to put it this way. And that's your board. And then mine, this blue goes with this blue, and those go together. The characters are in this character bag with plaid. And so the flip side is if you're collecting characters. And the spots is for the stuff, your party supplies. And at this point, we're ready to play. And there's two ways that I would set this up virtually. So the one is just have things in the bag, and then we would take turns. And when it's time to pick something from the bag, I often put the bag up to the camera like that. And then the kids pretend that they're pulling it out, and they really love to do that. The other way you could do it is to lay your chips onto the table into little piles. So this would be a virtual therapy hack. You do not need to do this if you're playing in person. But this hack is useful for just about any memory game. You put things into rows or columns, and then you can play any kind of memory and ask kids to pick, or any kind of card game where you're picking. I like to do it in rows because I'm often working on R, and so I get them to tell me top row, middle row, bottom row. I don't know if you do anything similar to that when you're playing.
I do. I also try to bring in. I'll sometimes bring in. I'll put out the rows and stuff. I'm big on letting my kids click as much as possible. So if I have annotation on, I'll let them draw on the screen and tell me which ones. Or sometimes I'll even let them do a spinner, like the ones
Nice.
for things like that, to pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then that's the pile I draw out of as well, to kind of give them something to do as well with their hands.
Yeah, and give them also some like a little bit of autonomy as well. So what I've done quickly while we were chatting is I've pulled out the pieces for the 2 games that we're not playing. So that's optional. If you want to keep those in, you could. If you don't want, if you want a quicker game, you would take those out. So that's why I took it out, because we're just demonstrating. And okay, we're ready to play. Tara, would you like to go first?
I would love to go first.
All right, and I think we'll do it where you pick from the bag. So go ahead, pick, and let's see. We're gonna play for real. Okay, so I have a cake that has an ocean and a palm tree. So would that go with the pirate party or with the unicorn party?
That would go with the pirate party.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm happy that is going for my party. And now it's my turn to pick. And oh, I got another pirate party one. And often at this point, I'll ask kids to compare. So I'll ask them, how did they know that it was a pirate party hat? What would a unicorn hat have different than a pirate party? So we can elicit some of that language and compare contrast skills. And I think it's your turn now. You're gonna dig, 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 dig. And oh, okay. So now this one isn't obviously unicorn or pirate because it's a gift without any iconography really on it for either. So the kids would have to seek and find. Tara, whose party do you see this box belonging to?
That's at my party.
That's your party. There you go. Okay. And my turn. And then the other feature of the game, oh, my party again. I swear I'm not rigging it. The other feature of the game is that you can play cooperatively or competitively. So we could do it that we're looking for me to win the game first to get all three, or we could do it that you only win when everybody's party is set. So let's do it cooperatively. Do you find that you play more frequently with kids where you have to, where you're doing cooperative games? Would you find you're doing competitive more often in your work?
It depends on the player type for me, for the kids. It also depends a big piece on where they are at, kind of executive functioning wise, what they can handle and be successful. And big at pulling them back to that point of success. So
Yeah.
where can they be successful? Because I don't want them to be unsuccessful in this as well as the executive functioning skills we're working on. So it's really like what they can handle and what they can do in the session that will increase that success feeling for them so that they attribute success to their sessions with me and are willing to work harder.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Mhm.
I'll let you pick your piece. And you're going to tell me, can you talk a little bit about the gaming type? Like that was really interesting. I don't think a lot of people know about that.
So I've done a ton of research and work in the gamification arena, which is outside. I'm very passionate about, as a speech language pathologist, finding research outside of our field that I can bring into the field to support us within the field.
Yeah.
One of the areas I've dove really deep into that I know you and I have talked about previously is gamification theory, which is the whole idea of adding points and levels and these pieces to activities we're doing in order to gamify them. Think of like how Fitbits, you can compete against friends, you get points, you close your rings on your Apple Watch, things like that. That's all gamification.
Yeah.
And part of the gamification research is they've actually identified 4 primary types of players. And that's what actually is intrinsically motivating about games for different people. And different people play for different reasons. And so I work really closely with my clients to identify what player type they are early on, because that really comes into play not only in which games I pick, but how we play the games. So it's actually motivating to them, because when we're picking games for them, if we're not aware of the player type of the student, we figure that out over time working with our clients. They like these kinds of games over these kinds of games. But I find that I can figure that out a lot sooner and therefore pick games that have an intrinsic motivation and value to my clients, so that therefore they're much more bought into the activity that we're doing and more engaged in what we're doing. And then, as you well know, I could take about any game and then we can really address executive functioning skills within it. Like today, the party time bingo was primarily about what do they already know about birthday parties? What kind of things you need for a birthday party? And if they were planning a birthday party, okay, this one's got a pirate hat because what's the theme? What would your theme be? What would your hats look like at your party? Or, what kind of gifts would you put in for this person at this birthday? Those kinds of social cognition pieces as well. But building in the player types and then putting the executive functioning on top of that so that I'm enabling that success for them early on in the types of games and the way we play games.
I love that so much. I don't think most people think about it, and we've never really taught about it. But to me, it makes so much sense because it's a game. Games inherently, I find, are already motivating. But if you already not just picking the activity like games as a broad category to be motivating, but then you're really, really fine tailoring it to the students. Do you try to, with time, see if you can change somebody's gaming type, or no, I shouldn't say change, but expand their gaming type?
I do. I'm very big on educating my clients. So my clients would be able to talk to you about parts of their brain and what parts of their brains are doing different things. We talk a lot about their diagnoses with parent and family support. But so they're able to really advocate for themselves and talk about, I'll have clients who will say, look, my frontal lobe's just not working well today I can't do this. You know, they have the ability to
Yeah.
kind of really identify what's going on. And I do the same thing with their player type too, especially if I'm working in a group, because, you know, they need to be, in order to understand each other when we're playing a game or doing an activity, it's helpful for them to know why their peer is playing the game and what their peer's goal is in the game. And so I actually enjoy groups where we have multiple player types, because then they're playing the games for different reasons and they're able to really learn from each other what that motivation is and ask those really great wonder questions, and, you know, gain that perspective taking and understanding that, you know, this person may be an achiever in the game, whereas this one might be an explorer player, and really able to see those different things and how they can work together to then cooperatively succeed in the game as well.
Amazing, amazing. So while we were playing, sorry, I have to look behind my screen here. While we were playing, whoops, no, I don't. I just went to the wrong thing. While we were playing, we both got party time bingo. Yay. So obviously, if you're doing it in therapy, it would take longer than it takes for me and Tara to play, because I didn't need to correct her speech as we were going or point out any language things. But I hope that was instructive for people. Are there any tips you can think of offhand for using physical games for virtual therapy?
No, I mean, I think like you kind of hit on it. I know it's something you and I have talked about before, but it's, you know, it's something I've been kind of passionate about lately and really advocating for lately. Is it's easy for us to accidentally take autonomy from our clients in
Yeah.
any session. I find it's even easier for telepractitioners to accidentally take autonomy and become that talking head in their
Yeah.
sessions. And so just really working hard, you know, pre-thinking, you know, when you're planning that session of what's all the ways I can hand that autonomy back
Back to
the
the
client
Yeah.
when we're playing this game, because that's how we'll get even more engagement in those games and in those activities as pieces, is when we are super intentional about even finding additional ways to hand back that autonomy and to make it that multisensory experience for them, even when there's distance between us.
Love it.